Welcome, listeners, to Through the Sightglass, a podcast that dives deep into the fascinating world of craft beer and celebrates the incredible individuals who shape its vibrant landscape. Join us on a journey where we explore the nuances of this amazing industry and the remarkable people who contribute to its richness and diversity. And today we have the pleasure of sitting down with Chris from Goodline. Chris, thank you for spending time for us. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I know I just introduced you, but can you, again, say your name and kind of your role here and what you do at Goodline Beer?
Yeah, Chris Troutman. I'm a co-founder and head lead brewer here at Goodline Beer with my partner Sean Phillips. He's a co-founder and front of house. So yeah, that's what I do. I make beer.
Very
Nice.
cool. It's very good beer. We're just trying some right now, so thank you so much. It's
Yeah,
great.
thanks.
Yeah.
Especially on a super hot day.
I know, yeah.
Having crisp,
In Lubbock,
clean beer.
Texas in the summer, gotta have some good crisp cold beer. It's
Oh, yeah.
perfect.
So we always start off like, where do you call hometown? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in DFW,
Okay.
Irving, Texas specifically. Lived there till I was 18, and then moved to Central Texas for college after that, 4-5-ish years, and then on to Austin. And I was in Austin for about 14 years, I believe.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's where I was last before Lubbock.
Gotcha.
Dang.
What'd you do for school?
Mass comm at undergrad in religion. I was going to get into ministry to do church planting in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I mean, kind of nice. Yeah, all that. The thing for me was the more I learned, the more I wasn't really on board with all of that.
Okay.
And then in college, or after college, moved to Austin, and that's where I met my partner Sean. Was in college. We were both in bands, so we gigged around town and shared equipment and bass players and whatnot.
Gotcha.
And then he and I and a couple other roommates moved to Austin, kind of just floundering around looking for jobs, not obviously being in church ministry anymore, and. We got jobs being technical trainers, which we were like severely underqualified for.
Nice.
But I won't say the company, but it was an election solution company. So we were training poll workers how to use electronic voting equipment in the 2006 primary. So this was post
Oh, that's wild.
Hanging Chad. So remember the
Yeah.
whole Hanging Chad debacle?
Yeah.
We were the solution. Some 23 and 24-year-olds teaching people how to use the equipment. The equipment was sound. It still is sound.
So you're a part of political history. That's impressive.
A little bit, yeah, for better or for worse. But the better of it is that it put us in Colorado, Washington, Oregon,
Oh, nice.
California, all across the East Coast.
Oh, nice.
And so this was like 2005, 2006. So I toured Odell in New Belgium in Fort Collins in 2005, 2006. That was like kind of really my, I guess, introduction into craft beer on the brewery side. We'd been living in Austin, we've been drinking Live Oak for a while.
Yeah.
Independence and Real Ale, where they were kind of the guys that were around at that point. But then having been exposed to what was going on in Colorado, that was kind of eye-opening, seeing really the level and the sophistication of the breweries, but also realizing that they all had really humble roots. All of them were, a bucket and a pot and a garage, and
Yeah.
by happenstance or maybe greater powers involved, we realized that the house we lived in Austin was around the corner from Austin Homebrew Supply.
Oh, wow.
Literally around the corner from it.
Perfect.
And so we got a bucket and a pot and made some very questionable beer.
You followed in the footsteps.
Yep, yeah, made some really terrible stuff. But being poor kids post college, like everyone loved it and drank it, and just. After that, I ended up, I leaned more into the mass comm, so I went back and got a master's at Texas State University in mass comm with an emphasis in new media. My final project was, do you guys remember Flash, like the platform?
Yes.
The coding language?
Yeah, I
Back
think so.
when web pages would move around, kind of weird cartoons.
Yeah.
Okay.
For no good reason.
Yeah, I
Right.
played a lot of Flash games too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Homestar Runner. Remember that?
Yes.
That was all. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Flash. So I built a Flash page that featured all the breweries in Austin,
Oh,
and
cool.
it had their logos, and it was way slicker than I could have done. But it was an opportunity for me to go meet these brewers and these business owners.
Oh, nice.
So I interviewed them, got interviews, got a lot of video. audio, and then put it together in kind of a multimedia type of presentation. And that was my final project. And after that, realized that I really liked that world. Like in addition to being a home brewer and having visited other breweries, I liked how accessible everybody was and just how like cool. Everybody just was cool, just like, and not cool like in a pretentious cool way, but cool in like a just cool to hang out kind of way.
Yeah. And willingness to like share information too.
Exactly.
Good community.
Exactly. Yeah. I remember. So Josh Wilson of Draft House in Austin. I think they're going on 65 years now.
Dang! Congratulations. to them.
Yeah. He had a pumpkin beer at that time. And I was a home brewer, and I was like, hey, do you mind sharing the recipe? And he did. He gave me the recipe, which is pretty incredible to my mind then. But, now knowing all the intricacies around brewing, it's not that big a deal to share that information. But,
Yeah.
Anyway, so from there, we ended up using all the content we'd created for that project, or I'd created for that project, and then partnered with a couple other people and built out a video website. We called it Beer Town Austin.
Heck yeah.
Not unknowing that we were ripping off the Brewers Association at the time.
Oh.
Yeah.
As in, like, they did a similar project, or?
They were Beer Town.
Oh,
I think
gotcha.
beertown.org was Brewers Association back
Gotcha.
in 2008, 9. So we did video interviews. We made friends with the guys at Alamo Draft House, their movie theater chain, and based out of Austin. They would bring through some heavy hitters in the craft beer world back then. So I got to sit down with Sam Caggione. I got to sit down with Jim Cook. At one point, James Watt. Is it Watt or Watts?
I think it's Watts.
The Brewdog guy.
Yeah.
Whenever he was doing the Sink the Bismarck tour, he came through. And So we got to do interviews with all those guys. And also, the Austin beer scene was kind of blowing up at that point.
This is like 2008, 2009?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
totally. Yeah.
512 Brewing had just come around. They were one of the ones that I featured on that project that we did. And then we became buddies with folks at Jester King, Jeff and Mike, and ended up, homebrewing with them a little bit, hanging out a bunch, and kind of documenting their kind of build out, with the videos and the interviews and the photos and everything.
Oh, wow.
And so that was pretty impactful for me and Sean, seeing guys that seemed like us, like as far as just like place in life and whatnot, doing this thing, and realize, well, these guys could do it to great success. Maybe we could do it to mediocre success. And so we ended up putting together a business plan in 2011 with another friend of ours. And at that point, the video website had turned into a magazine. So we were doing a print magazine, worked with a guy named Aaron Chamberlain and Josh Spradling, still both really good friends.
Heck yeah.
To put together this print magazine. Sean did all the photography, I did all the writing and interviewing. Josh was our business manager, ad sales, and Aaron was our publisher, put the whole thing together.
And it was just for the Austin area, right? Okay.
Yep, yeah, the Austin Beer Guide.
And what was the magazine called?
Austin Beer Guide.
Austin Beer Guide.
And it's still around.
Yeah.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah, they're still doing it. It's still got a website. It's a little bit different than how it was, but just everyone's lives have changed and priorities and whatnot. But we were able to, I guess, with information from the people that we knew and our experience, put together a business plan, and we were ready to execute that in 2011. And then 3 of us that were going to do it, all of our wives got pregnant around the same time.
Faded or bead.
Yeah, so put that on the back burner. We were dads for a while. Still did the magazine, which was like a really nice outlet for staying involved in the
Kind of kept your fire stoked still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And during that time we started this festival, an event called Lager Jam, where we'd bring out. It was eventually a lager invitational. I think the first year was 2012 or 13, but we did that in partnership with a local dive bar called Billy's on Barnet, which is pretty incredible if you ever get the chance to go there.
Billy's on Barnet?
We'll put it on the list.
Billy's on Barnet,
yeah. It'll go on our list to check out.
Really, really great burgers, really good drafts, cool vibe, cool people. We had a lager event in their parking lot every August. We would, not intentionally, but it kind of turned into almost like the hottest day in August is when that would always land.
In Austin, with the humidity. Yeah,
and we would just sit out there and, pound full pints of lagers in the parking lot.
Oh,
and,
perfect.
Yeah.
You're probably sweating it out faster than your body processes it, so
Yeah.
it is just staying hydrated.
You never got drunk.
Yeah.
You never got drunk because you're just processing it so quickly. But
Would y'all invite people from like other breweries outside of Austin for it? So would y'all reach out to other states or cities for the? You said it was kind of an invitational for people. Like, was that for the breweries to come?
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was initially it started just Austin, but then we'd bring in other breweries from other cities. And at the time, it was just Texas. We're kind of off on a tangent now, but
Sorry.
No, you're okay.
we did the first satellite lager jam here at our brewery back in May.
Okay, I think I saw
nice.
some stuff on Instagram about that.
Yeah,
Okay.
we definitely did.
And we invited a couple breweries from New Mexico, and Ex Novo came out
Yeah.
for that.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, so hopefully next year we can get a couple more people. And what we'd like to do is have it where it's more of a, truly of an invitational, where it's, our buddies in Austin, but also we've got people coming from. So this last one we had friends from San Antonio, I think some folks from Dallas too, people from Abilene, people from Midland. So it's kind of a regional, but also people from outside of our area.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, we'd
That's-
like to grow on that.
Yeah.
That's kind of nice too to have like a festival that is sort of like friends, but people you know. And it's not saying there needs to be like any sort of secret code to get in, but it's like, oh, this person's a great person, does great beer. Those make some of the best festivals, as opposed to just being like, oh, well, we need these people to draw people in,
Oh,
and
yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
that can be pretty lackluster.
Yeah. I mean, we are so fortunate in our community here that it was our first non-drinking day event. So like Oktoberfest, St. Patrick's Day, Cinco de Mayo, like those days, people are just going to come out.
Expect to.
Yeah. This was an event we did, we just kind of manifested the whole thing where it's like, hey, we make a lot of lagers. We think you guys like lagers. You drink the ones we make. Hopefully you'll come out and do this thing. And we replaced 16 of our taps with guest lagers that day.
Wow.
Oh,
And
awesome.
our community killed every
Killed it.
single one of them.
Love it.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
It was awesome, yeah. And the nice thing about it is that we're way off on a tangent now.
Sorry,
No, it's
we'll get
okay.
back. We'll come back.
Don't
The
worry.
nice thing about it is that the event has always been built so that the industry folks who are invited get to hang out as well.
Yeah.
No one's behind a jockey box pouring or sweating to carry ice over and all that stuff.
Nice. They get to interact with the people and talk to them. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. It's a whole lot of fun.
We'll have to put on our list to come back then in August.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
Lagerfest.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they still do it in Austin. So Austin does theirs in September.
Okay.
They have Lager Jam with Spokesman. It's a coffee roaster and a good friend, CJ West, is kind of spearheading
Oh,
that
nice.
now. And then we'll do the one, Lager
May.
Jam West again in May.
Okay.
Nice. Okay,
Very
so
cool.
so May and September.
Yeah.
Have you felt like the Lubbock community has treated and accepted Goodline coming in? Like, what was the reception like?
Oh, we're super fortunate.
Okay.
So we're in the Tech Terrace neighborhood. It's just a few blocks south of Texas Tech. And we're in a historical building. I mean, not technically historical, but it was a post office in the 50s. We still have the flagpole outside. And we kind of had a good idea of the demographic we would draw. But this neighborhood is maybe 50% students and 50% families and faculty. And luckily, we got the families and faculty coming in. No offense to students, but we were all students. Students suck.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, and so it's been really great. Like the families and faculty come through. There's a teaching hospital nearby, so we get folks who are coming in town for the teaching hospital, and a couple other neighborhoods around here that kind of essentially fill up our tap room. We don't have a
Nice.
ton of parking, so it's nice that a lot of people will ride bikes and walk over
in.
here.
Yeah.
That's how we came. The first time we came, we were parked over at our friend's house. And we walked over from...
Yeah, it's probably just like a mile
Yeah.
down that way.
Walked from their house over here.
Yeah,
So,
that's the idea.
yeah.
And this is the only neighborhood in Lubbock that's like that.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, when we moved here in 2018, the city had just put together a microbrewery ordinance, and they were trying to put all the breweries downtown, which is a fine idea because there's infrastructure there that's not being used. Don't have to worry so much about noise and whatnot. And I, at the time, the city didn't really understand what taproom breweries were. So
Yeah.
I guess going way back, we are a taproom brewery. So we're 50% taproom, 50% brewery. That's how my partner and I got to split up our responsibilities. But there was nothing like that here. And so it took, we had to get a couple variances with the city, with zoning, to get into this building, and a lot of conversations, a lot of beer, a lot of networking to kind of make this work in this building, in this neighborhood. But the thing is that it worked out because a lot of people who live in this neighborhood are people who are transplants to Lubbock. People who grew up here and then moved away to another city and then came back, which there's a lot of people that kind of yo-yo like that. Or people that moved here for education, energy, or healthcare. Those are the big industries that bring people out this way.
Gotcha.
And they'll come from like a Denver, Portland, Seattle, San Francisco, Austin, Dallas. Have an idea of what taproom breweries are like in those more mature markets, and they'll kind of identify like this neighborhood being a place where you can live with your family. And we're on a little square block with a bakery, a coffee shop, a pizza place, a small little grocery store. So this is kind of an ideal place to live, but it's the only place like that in Lubbock. So we have to do a little bit of convincing to get people to here, but not a ton of convincing.
Not too much.
Our demographic, our market kind of sees what we're doing, and we joke about how when we opened up, we just put up this bat signal, and people just showed up and kept showing up.
Come drink beer.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we don't do any formal marketing. Everything is social media, word of mouth. And it's doing pretty good. We're a 10-barrel system with I think we're a 67 barrel capacity cellar.
Gotcha.
Doing between 500 and 700 barrels per year since we opened up. So
nice. And this will be your third year, second year?
We are in our third year now.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So we kind of skipped ahead.
Oh yeah, no, it's okay.
So
you're totally okay. I had a question about, was it a culture shock? Because you guys have some awesome IPAs on tap, and I feel like a lot of people here grew up drinking like Shiner Bock, like German lager, Michelob Ultra, kind of like macro American lager styles, and you've got some awesome IPAs up there. Was it hard trying to convince them to drink it, or were they super welcoming to that?
Oh, super welcoming.
Awesome.
It's an interesting market because there are some, I'm doing air quotes now for the microphone. There are some born and raised, and then there's also a lot of people who are transplants here. And so through the magazine, we made buddies with a lot of people in Austin. I got to talk with them and develop some relationships. I got a lot of really great advice. Joe Moorfield, one of the head brewer, one of the founders at Pine House Pizza, gave me some advice a while back as he moved from Fort Collins and Odell to Austin to open up his project. And one of the things he told me is that he's had to figure out how to meet the market where it's at and then lead them from there.
Yeah.
And so we've kind of kept that idea the whole time, but we're realizing kind of like what, we'd go to bars, restaurants, grocery stores, bottle shops, and kind of see what they were stocking, what they were moving, and kind of got an idea of what people liked and wanted. And then kind of formed our menu sort of around that, but also definitely with our fingerprints of what we wanted. And we're both big, lager drinking guys. And also love a really drinkable but challenging IPA. Hazy IPAs are fine. They're fun to brew. I don't drink a lot of them, but that's what a lot of people want. But so it's been interesting trying to find some of the stuff doesn't stick. Some of the stuff sticks better than we thought it would. So it's the first 2 years have been a little bit of trial and error of like, I don't know, maybe they'll want a winter warmer. I don't know, they didn't want a winter warmer. Maybe they'll want an ESB. Well, they didn't really want that ESB. But no, we'll try this little beer. Like, whoa, that really took off.
Yeah.
It kicked in 2 weeks. Now we'll do more of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, totally. So I do want to go back. So y'all were doing the Lager Festival. Lager Jam.
Yeah.
So I want to proceed into when did y'all's business plan come into fruition? Because y'all had to put it on pause in 2011.
Right.
Yeah. So I wanted to jump back to that.
Okay, so lots of years of drinking beers, drinking lagers in the parking lot at Billy's on Burnett. We did a best of party every year at ABGB. People called it beer prom. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, nice.
Doing the print magazine. We did that until about 2017. At that point, our kids were going into school, wives were going back to work, lives were kind of changing. We kind of picked up that idea again. And during that period, Austin had grown from probably 15 breweries to maybe 35 or 45 breweries.
Right.
Gotcha.
And just the whole, I mean, I don't know if you guys ever heard the statistic of, Austin had 100 new people moving there every single day.
Yeah.
No, that's wild, though.
Yeah, for like 3 years in a row, that was the thing.
That was.
That's wild. That's a
And-
huge surplus of people.
Yeah, and it just, everything skyrocketed, like the cost of projects, cost of real estate. And there was a lot of money being influxed for projects coming out of other states. So
Gotcha.
it got to a point where it was really, as just a bootstrappy business, kind of hard to compete. And I mean, I feel like the last true like bootstrappy like brewery to open up in Austin was probably Southern Heights. That was like 2000 and I think 17 when they opened.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So for us, it was like, it just didn't make sense. Neither one of us are wealthy people. We don't have like, daddy Robux.
You have buckets of money laying around.
Yep. No.
Like
I don't have that uncle with the dollar signs saved on my phone to reach out to. So
But that's how the best breweries are made, honestly.
yeah.
Truthfully.
Yeah. No, so my wife is Lubbock, born and raised. Like, no quotes. She is born and raised here in Lubbock. Sean's wife it was friends with my wife in college. So that's kind of how they met in Austin later.
Mm-hmm.
So, and she's got family here, had some friends here. So we had roots in Lubbock and had been visiting, just at seeing in-laws for the past, since like 2008. And started to realize that Lubbock kind of had the same, I guess, like watermarks of where Austin was in 2005 and 6.
Yeah.
So started seeing a lot more independent restaurants open, coffee shops, wineries, and there was a gastropub that opened that like sold all out of market beer. And with like the fact that there's a gastropub here, no local beer, this market was ready for something. And we weren't the only ones. We came in 2018, right before we moved here. 2 others had just opened up. There was a third that opened up about a year after we got here, and another 2 opened up before we got open in 2022. So, and another one has opened since we have been open. So we're 7 breweries. now.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I think the only ones we've been to when we visited her friends are LBK Brewing and Two Docks Brewing.
Oh, yeah.
I think those are the 2, yeah. So, did y'all look at any other cities besides Lubbock, or was it like really only Lubbock? Is that what y'all are looking at?
Personally, my wife and I had looked in the Hill Country. My parents lived there. She had a job in Bee Cave, which is a city kind of right outside of Austin before you really get to the Hill Country. So we looked at that, but his property values went so high at that point we couldn't make it work. But yeah, here, Lubbock was ready for it. Like the market was ready for it. The city was ready for it. Like property values are like cost, like the actual like quality of life and cost of living are really, really great here.
Yeah, it's reasonable. Trust me, we see it all the time.
friends
Coming
are
from
always
Oregon and
telling us-
Washington State, it's
They're
like, oh
live
yeah.
here. We're like, maybe.
Yeah, it's we're really happy here. We had both of our children and owned a house in Austin, and it was great. But then it got to a point where we were tired of driving so much.
Traffic.
Yeah, I was in the car for 45 minutes getting to work and an hour to get home. I saw my kids for like half an hour in the morning and half an hour at night. And, on the weekends, we were just exhausted from driving. We didn't want to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Quit going to live music, quit checking out new restaurants, and just kind of gotten a little like, this is the little bubble that we live in. And we realized we could leave and like move out to the suburbs, but then if we were going to leave, we're like, let's make it worth it. Let's like really get out of town.
Yeah,
So-
not just like a little bit of ways.
It wasn't hard for y'all to convince the families to move to Lubbock.
No, I can't speak for Sean's family, but my wife was on board. She wanted to do it. My kids too. They were at a young enough age; it wasn't going to be too disruptive with school. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't meaning to imply that it was hard for Sean's family.
Yeah,
Like,
no, you just
Yeah,
don't know.
no.
they were
totally.
fine. Yeah, they were like, his wife had a good friend here and some other family here.
Yeah. Do you remember that conversation where you and Sean were like, let's go to Lubbock? Like, do you remember that conversation?
Kinda. It was a conversation we had.
Multiple times.
Usually, if we were having beers together, it always kind of ended in that conversation.
Yeah,
And
like
then,
late into the night.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, multiple iterations of the concept,
Yeah.
multiple iterations of the name. But the Lubbock one, we were camping we were camping at Emma Long in Austin, his family and mine, and we were like, we're gonna do this. We're gonna really like push the gas on this, and not to say that it was like our idea. It was all, we kind of worked on the whole thing together, but we were like, I think we're gonna do it. We're gonna push for Lubbock, and they talked about it as a family, and they were like, okay, we're doing it too. And yeah, we moved here in summer of 2018, and they were here that next December.
Okay.
So yeah, like December 18 is where they got here, I believe.
Yeah,
Nice.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to talk about kind of like the community you've built. Was that like conscious decision, especially with a lot of projects you've been involved in, from like bands and music to the beer writing and the beer scene, is like creating kind of like a local hub and a local spot that you can kind of watch like grow and evolve and be beautiful? Was that conscious when you guys were designing this place?
Oh, absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, ironically, I think I walked away from church planting in college, but then ended up, the joke is we've built a church for the church.
Yeah.
But
Love it.
no, it's great. I mean, our regulars at the bar are truly regulars at the bar. We know all their names. They have birthdays here.
That's awesome.
They have baby showers here. So when we were doing the research here in Lubbock, there were churches, chain restaurants, coffee shops, and then just businesses where people worked.
Yeah.
There was nowhere for people really to get together except for like their homes, and nowhere for people to get together to really meet other people.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's kind of trite now, but that whole third space
Third
concept,
space, yeah.
that's really what we were pushing for, because like you can't go to a restaurant and then hang out for hours and let your kids kind of meet other kids and wander around, and you can't go to church and do that, but it's at some point all those places like, well, you have to leave now. Now's the time to leave, and you're there for another reason, and the community is kind of like an afterthought or a consequence of it or whatever. But no, we intentionally, we have got like the beer hall style tables, so we encourage community seating. The stand-up tables in the middle, the bar. It's absolutely built for people to get to know their neighbors and get to know their community. And I love hearing the stories of people coming in who are like, yeah, I came here on my own, and now I've got like 5 really great friends. And the downside of that is that those groups will get tired of drinking beer, but they don't get tired of each other. So then they'll start going to other, bars and whatnot. But
Gotcha.
I love that we could kind of be the impetus for those relationships forming. We hosted our first wedding here back in April, I believe it was April, for a couple that had their first date here.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we closed for a night and had a wedding, and the wedding, all the people at the wedding were our regulars.
Yeah.
It was great.
That's awesome. Congrats.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's a cool milestone.
Yeah, it was really, really special.
Very cool. So I want to tie in Good Line, the name. So you talked about a little bit, you and Sean were trying to decide on a name. How did y'all land on Good Line? What does it mean for y'all? And what does it represent for y'all as a brewery?
So it's, I've realized very recently that I think some people are hearing Good Lion, as in like Lion King or like Rara.
Gotcha.
It's Good Lion. Yeah, I'm not correcting you.
My accent maybe.
Oh, no, I'm not correcting you. I realized that I've said it on the phone, like talking to like people in the city, and like, yeah, Good Lion, and they're like L-I-O. It's like, no, it's Lion, like Lion. Anyway.
Yeah.
So when we knew we were going to do this, we're pretty good buddies with the Austin Beer Works folks, and we sat down with them and we're like, hey, talk us out of opening a brewery. And by the end of the night, we were making offers on used equipment.
That's hilarious. They're like, we'll do you one better, Uno reverse.
Yeah. But one of the really good pieces of advice we got from these guys was to really put a lot of emphasis on branding and the visual identity of it. That, obviously the quality of the beer needs to be good, the quality of the experience needs to be good, but it's kind of trifold. That the quality of the visuals and the branding needs to be as good. Like, it doesn't make any sense to put we condition our Pilsner for 8 weeks in the tank, and then to take that beer and put it in just like a trash glass.
Yeah,
with terrible
absolutely.
branding. Like, the idea is that the thought that's gone into every piece of this is pretty equal. So we took that advice and wanted to work with someone locally here in Lubbock We had both been, we're both music fans, and there's a print poster designer named Dirk Fowler, and my wife knew that he, lived here in Lubbock. And so he'd actually done work that Sean had hanging in his house and didn't realize it was the same guy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a cool coincidence.
Yeah.
So we got in touch with him through a mutual friend, sat down and pitched the idea, and just basically we're like, hey, do you want to brand a brewery? Like from pint glass to can to the tap room to anything we ever do.
Merch.
Like,
all the cans, everything,
everything. So
coasters.
Yep, everything, yeah. So we brought him on. He's our creative partner. He's an equity owner with us, and it's been probably one of the greatest things we've done because every single piece of the visual experience here has gone through his lens. Everything except for like the exit signs and like the fire extinguisher signage, but he's been a really great partner. So part of that was when we met with him, when we first brought him on the team. We were trying to like figure out the name because we felt like we'd had other names, but this was a new project. It was something in Lubbock, so we're like, let's do something original. And we didn't want to do anything that felt like we were like pandering to local people. So we didn't want to have like we're tumbleweed, whatever.
You want to be an individual,
right? Yeah. So whenever we would sit down, and we did this over several sessions. Part of it was just getting to know each other, but also like let's just kind of kick around some ideas and. All the ideas always kind of would like land on lines from songs or stuff that was, I guess, like related to that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And we could never pick just one of those, to actually like be the name.
The name, yeah.
And so he was like, all right, guys, I got a lot of ideas. I'm going to go back. I'm going to put some stuff together, and I'll get back to you. So he went back and cooked for a couple weeks. And then he was like, okay, I'm ready to show y'all. And he came out and he took me to his office. He's a design instructor at Texas Tech. So took us there and was like, I'm going to show you these ideas. And like the first one he showed me was great because like when you have like these words in your head and then like a professional designer puts an image behind the words, it looks so much more valid.
Right.
It felt like yes. And like at that time when you're opening a brewery, you feel so insecure because you're nothing but. Like I said earlier, guys with like a pot and some buckets in a garage.
Right.
Yeah. And so like having something that looked legitimate felt so good. Mm-hmm. And the first one he showed, I was like, yes, that's it. That's perfect. Then he started tearing it apart. He's like, here's the problems with this, and this. And he's like, so I scratched that. And I felt like, no. And then he showed the next idea. And did the same thing. And I was like, that's even better. I love it. And then he's like, yeah, but then I started thinking about how would this work with cans and how will this work with individual brands and broke it down. And he's like, so I scratched that. And I was like, God, I love that one. And then he showed another one and he said, at one point we talked about the idea of just giving it the name Good Line. And he showed this outline, this single line of a G. And I was like, that's kind of cool. And then he put a frame around it. I was like, that's pretty cool. And then he showed another one of it where it actually had the lines in it so that the G makes a record player.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He showed that, and in my memory, I fell out of the chair. I don't know if I really did, but I was like, that's it. And it's like, do you guys remember that show Mad Men with Don Draper?
Yeah.
So did you ever watch the episode with the Kodak episode where he's talking about the Kodak carousel?
No.
Okay, well it's a classic piece of marketing television. It's on YouTube if you look for it. But
look for it, yeah.
It's basically him selling the Kodak carousel, which is such a dumb piece of equipment that's just we don't even use anymore. But he sold it and he put this emotional attachment to it. And like marketing people look at that scene is like this is what marketing is about.
Okay.
It's not selling a thing, it's selling an
emotion.
idea or selling yeah. And it felt like that. It felt like I got Don Draper because when in my head, I swear there's like a soundtrack in the background.
Oh, that's
like
beautiful.
Yeah, so that's where we landed on.
Amazing.
It was Good Line, and then the concept was that would be the overall name, and the branding would kind of look like a record to kind of lean into music, and then all the names of the different beers would be from songs. Mm-hmm. Or even open it up to that could be from TV, movies, or books, or all the generic stuff that brewers.
Yeah, just any form of media.
Yeah,
that you find attractive.
Right. Yeah, it took the whole we're going to rip off pop culture IP, but made it a little more highfalutin because we have this whole theory around why we can rip off other people's IP.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, because that is one of the biggest things. I think whenever we came in the first time, blown away by. I mean, I've grown up in West Texas. Like, we never really had anything cool growing up, and so to come into a brewery in Lubbock and see the branding and everything, like, it really is cohesive. And I was really blown away for myself because we had been living in the Pacific Northwest, so we get to see a lot of cool stuff. And hearing that y'all are from Austin, it kind of clicked. I was like, okay, I see how everything's clicking here. And to bring that to Lubbock, I think it's such a cool experience for the people in the community here to experience that and not have to live in a big city to, like, have good, awesome things, especially a brewery that knows how to market and have really awesome beer. So I think y'all really hit it on the mark. So
thanks. Yeah. Well, I mean, that was part of it, was that we had family here. Like my wife's sisters, all of her sisters left Lubbock and would come back at different points. And the whole idea was that, like, Lubbock's not good enough. Can't wait to get to the point that I can move to Dallas, or can't wait till I can move to Houston or Austin or whatever. And then, people living here would live here Monday through Friday and then jump on a cheap Southwest flight or road trip to Albuquerque, Santa Fe, or Denver, or Dallas. And it just felt like you can live here and have nice things too,
Yes.
And it was almost like that was like it's almost like, I don't think anyone ever thought we don't deserve this, but I think that, like, the local, and I'm not talking bad about anyone particularly, but I think just the idea of, like, local businesses maybe 10 years ago here in Lubbock was that they were lower quality, maybe a little bit unreliable, and so no one really looked at local as high quality or as beneficial.
Right.
And so I think it was nice to be able to come in and kind of show, like, hey, we can be a really high quality brewery where everything, the experience, the beer, the visuals, everything is on par with what you would. And I'm saying this from a biased perspective, but it's on par with something you would get in Austin or a Denver or Fort Collins.
Yeah. Well, I think the tap room would show that your beer is great, and we definitely agree as well. Having spent plenty of time in high production breweries in Oregon, like, this is fantastic beer.
Well, thank you. Yeah. It's a lot of work. We do a lot of work.
Yeah.
Well, it shows. When I heard you, like, we let our Pilsner rest for 8 weeks, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah, it's the
labor of love.
Yeah. Well, the thing for us and this happens, was when we first opened up, we always had the what if when one of our buddies from Live Oak or from Pint House or from
would, like, stop by,
pops in, because a lot of people take road trips from Austin going up into New Mexico or Colorado, and that immediately happened. We started having a lot of people come through, and so definitely put the fear of God in us that like, when I leave for the day, I feel like I'm going to make sure that my brew house looks good. I want to make sure that all my O-rings are picked up off the floor, and make sure that, like, these beers are pouring well, make sure that there's no lipstick on the glasses, because we don't know when one of these people who we highly respect are gonna come through and try our lagers and our IPAs, and so we definitely, in addition to wanting to do the best that we can for the community here, we also feel I guess, like, having been on the side of being a critic with the magazine, definitely know what it feels like to kind of put the microscope onto someone. And so we want to feel ready to receive the microscope, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know.
So did you went from, having the magazine and doing these things and home brewing, what experience, did y'all have any experience working in breweries at all, or just being able to be around brewers and stuff like that? I feel like opening your own brewery, that was probably a huge step in the learning curve.
Yeah, it's very daunting.
So what did that look like for y'all?
Oh, it was easy. Just woke up and started making great beer one day.
The confidence. The confidence in
That's
humbleness.
amazing.
No, we were super fortunate to be able to, pull on the coattails of several very experienced, very qualified individuals, and ask questions and get help. I mean, too many to list, but I mean, there's a guy, Nico Tonks, good buddy. He brewed out at Live Oak for several years. That's how we knew him. Then he moved up to Minnesota to start his own brewery, Fair State Co-op.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, we get Fair State all the time at a bottle shop I used to work at.
Yeah. So Nico, we actually brought him on as a consultant. He was at a point in his career where he'd already built out 2 breweries and had some people brewing underneath him, and I guess he just was wanting to like try something new, and it worked out for us. And so he consulted with us, which was really, really great. The guy's super experienced and very skilled. Actually works at Yakima Chief now.
Okay, way to go.
Yeah, Midwest sales guy, and just got back into brewing too. He's brewing at a small brewery outside of Minnesota.
Cool.
So guy can't quit.
Yeah.
Way to go, Nico.
Yeah.
Just like a lot of us, I think, in this industry, where it's like one day I'll slow down, and you slow down, and you do, I think, consulting fun projects, or you do more delegating, higher operation stuff, and then you just miss the practice, the process, just everything about you. Like, I have to get back on the floor.
Yeah. So I mean, he did that. We brought him out. He lifeguarded our first couple batches, where he was standing on the floor with the whistle, making sure we weren't going to run too fast by the pool or drown or whatever. But,
hey, that's blessed.
Yeah.
Good for him.
But so we had us up with that. But then also we became pretty good buddies with this brewery up in Amarillo called Pondicetta. They one of their founders was the premier stainless brew house installer in Austin. And so he installed brew houses for a bunch of buddies that we have in Austin. We did not know this at the time. We ended up at his brewery on the second day they were open. My family and I were camping in Palo Duro, the canyon, and it was 28 degrees in the morning. And my wife and kids were like, we're not going to stay another day here. So there's no phone reception down in the canyon. We got to the rim, and I just typed in brewery on the map, and they were the only ones open on a Sunday. We got there, and it was the second day they'd never been open.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Ended up meeting them and realizing that we knew a lot of the same people, had come from Austin. We became pretty fast friends with those guys. And then when we ended up deciding we were going to go with Premier, knowing that they had a Premier system and he was their installer, I started driving up there and brewing with those guys.
Brewing with them in Amarillo,
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they were very gracious and letting me time and letting a guy who'd only ever been a home brewer get up on their deck and work with them. And did that for a couple months, and that really helped me kind of like learn my way around the equipment. But we'd been as home brewers, we threw out everything we knew and rebuilt our equipment and our process around how we could lay that right on top of a production system, to the point where we had pressurized fermenting vessels and temperature control, and also luckily fortunate because of the beer guide experience, we're able to get the production level ingredients. So the stuff that
nice.
I got a Yakima Chief account back when I was a home brewer, and was able to get the same stuff that we're using now at that point. So really meticulously put a lot of effort into this process around this beer. I'm going to be able to take this and lay this on top of the brew house that we're buying. And these ingredients around this beer are the exact ingredients that we're using whenever we scale it up. So by doing that, the only real variable we had was the equipment. And so when we came into it, having the experience brewing on the Premier stuff with Pondicetta, and then having Nico around helping, basically we knocked out. We had just pretty much a brew day boot camp, and filled all of our tanks in about 6 days.
Wow, that's amazing.
Dang.
And took data.
That's a feat.
Yeah, it's exhausting. We took data each day, and then would tweak the recipe for the next day after that, and really kind of helped and really kind of get over the hump of how does my equipment essentially perform, And the only thing I didn't really have too much data on was just hop utilization, because you're not going to really get that stuff until it's in the glass. But, another good thing we learned from Joe at Pinehouse was that they do 7-barrel systems so that they get a whole lot of repetition, and by doing that repetition, you just get better and better and better and better. I worked in the software world before, and we were an agile house where really you just iterate,
Yeah.
do something, make a change, test it, do something, make a change,
Yeah.
test it. Or I guess do something, test it, make a change. Do something, test it, make a change.
Right.
And so we definitely went with that same kind of philosophy. So just pounding in the recipes, making simple changes, testing new processes or new ingredients on one-offs, and then anything that we really like, then we'll rotate that into one of the main recipes. Just really take it. Like I said, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Taking it serious, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't consider myself like a professional brewer. I feel like I'm a hack who just really tries hard to fool people.
Yeah.
No, it shows. I just wanted to say really quick, your attention to detail and tediousness of what you do for your work is super inspiring. I jumped in at keg washing. I figured out just drinking enough craft beer by the time I was 23, I was like, I think this is something I want to do. I dropped out of community college doing graphic design. Loved art, but I was like, this is something I want to do. And so I just started from the ground up. To be able to do what you did is super rare. I think a lot of home brewers, they get the idea to open a brewery. They don't take the time to scale up ingredients, scale up equipment, because that takes time, money, knowledge, practice, which is never in abundance for any human. And it shows. I mean, the beer quality is fantastic. Your brew setup, we walked by it. It's clean. It's immaculate. That's like literally my favorite thing to see, especially blow-off buckets that are clean. I'm like, that person cares about and if you care about a blow-off bucket, you're going to care about everything else.
Yeah.
So I think giving you your flowers to you, it's like, no, you're not a hack. You've done supremely well with probably the very little you were given. So congrats on that.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
And it shows in the beer. I was going to ask kind of like your direction for beer. How do you guys kind of decide on that?
Like I said earlier, we kind of have that mentality of let's meet the market where they're at and then lead them to where we want to take them. We were big lager guys, big into crushable, drinkable IPAs. I think the hazy stuff is just something you have to do. I think our philosophy is, go back to our pitch deck. Our philosophy is fourfold. It's quality, consistency, drinkability, and innovation. So that's kind of where all of our beers kind of fall in one of those columns. And some of the stuff is not so much drinkable all the time. Like we have an 8.5% Baltic Porter on right now.
Oh, nice.
We did that with a collaboration with the brewery here in town, Brewery LBK, the guys you mentioned earlier.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Not so drinkable, but still quality, innovative, something new for us. But yeah, I think it's the idea for us. We serve the lagers in half-liter tubingers. We've got the 20-ounce Willies for everything else. We just added the larger tulip Pilsner glasses.
Oh yeah.
Again, we've had those 3 or 4 times. They keep breaking, but now we finally bit the bullet and got some branded big ones. But what I was getting at is that the idea is that for a business, it doesn't make a lot of sense for us to make beers that people are going to want to have 1 or 2 of and then need to switch to something else. I think drinkability is king. If I can sell someone, 4 beers in an afternoon, then as from a business perspective, that's fantastic for me. So as far as the main beers we do, we try to, I don't really know how the balance is on the board right now, but we try to keep more beers under 5% than that are over 5%.
Yeah.
And that Baltic Porter is throwing us off right now, and we've got a double West Coast too that's throwing us off. But yeah, I think drinkability is kind of the main thing.
Yeah.
And by that, I think that dictates a lot of lagers, dictates dry, drinkable IPAs.
Yeah.
And then the hazy stuff, just it sells well. And as a brewer, it's fun to make. I like trying new hop products. I like trying new hop varieties. I like researching and trying new methods for how do we coax more of this and leave less of that in the beer.
Yeah.
That stuff is it's fun in a challenging way. Kind of like here's the problem to solve is let's get all of this tropical citrusy flavor and aroma in the beer, but let's leave the bitterness out. And also we want to do it in an efficient way where as an owner, I'm not just spending so much money throwing down the drain on hops.
Yeah.
Kind of cracking that and coming up with processes for doing that and then being able to do it, consistently and efficiently. They're fun. I think they're fun to make. I don't drink them very often, but they're fun to make.
Very cool. Yeah. So with that, you'll have stuff on tap. You'll have cans to go. What is that canning? Do y'all have a canner here that y'all have, or does somebody come in and do that for y'all?
Yeah, we have a canner. I've got a really great seller team, packaging team. They're actually the guys who helped build the building with us.
Oh, nice.
When we got this building, we own our building. When we got our building, there was no one in Lubbock that knew how to renovate an older building, and especially how to renovate it and put a brewery into it. So we partnered with some artists that we knew, some sculptors, a guy named John Whitfield and Eli Ragland are our guys, and they built this building, like put their hands on everything with me and Sean, and then at the end of the build out, we're like, hey, we like working with you guys. You're cool. Why don't y'all start coming back and I'll train you washing kegs, and then. Now, John is my cellar lead and assistant brewer, and Eli is my packaging lead. Really, really lucky with the guys beneath me. And they know we have an American Canning 18-1 machine, which is pretty popular. I think it's probably the lowest barrier to entry cost-wise for a canner. But you pay for it and having to accumulate a lot of knowledge. And these guys are pretty sharp. They've really figured out how to make that thing hum. There's still days when it's, tough, but being out this far where we're not really too close to a lot of other breweries to get help from, it's nice that these guys are pretty independent on it.
Right.
Yeah, that's super crucial too, to have, I think, your own equipment as well. Mobile canners obviously were huge before the pandemic, and then
so great
I think probably got brutalized during the pandemic with every brewery that didn't have a canning setup or a growler setup being like, we need you here. The more time you spend on those machines, the more you learn about them, how to make them run right. There's a bunch of different variables as well, and that's where, like, when it comes into the machine, that's where you have to mitigate it. It's like if the glycol is not gonna, behave today, cool, we have to mitigate it with the canning line. So you learn a lot of tips and tricks.
Yeah, and I think like the nice thing about these guys having an artist, a sculptor background is that they see problems differently than I think other people might see these problems. They approach them differently. And so there are things where I'd look at it and be like, well, why don't we just try this first? And they're like, well, let's try this. And then a lot of times, like their ideas and their methods, actually get to the result a little bit quicker, maybe a little bit more efficiently. But also, just like because of that, they're also just like high attention to detail, which
for sure
is really, really great. We built out our entire glycol system ourselves and installed it ourselves. And these guys were very, instrumental in getting that done and getting it up there with very few leaks and very little maintenance. So I love having them on my team.
Yeah,
good on them.
Sounds like an awesome team. For y'all as a brewery, what does distribution look like for y'all? Do y'all distribute here in the city or outside the city?
Yeah, we do maybe 20%, 10-20% distributed. Most of it here in Lubbock. A little bit in Austin, just buddies that have bars out there still.
Oh, cool! That's awesome to keep that connection.
Yeah, and it's nice to get out there and see people, and essentially be able to justify a trip. To get out that way.
Oh shoot! I got to drop beer off down in Austin today at 4 places. Might see a show,
Yeah. But we'll go down there for events that the guild has, and other festivals and whatnot. So it makes sense to be able to sell a little bit of beer there. And it's nice, too, that we have so many friends and family still there that they can find our beer and, take pictures of it, and, send it to us. Like, hey, I found your beer in the wild.
Nice.
Pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, but the business model is tap room. So, 90%, 80% of what we're doing is being sold over the tap room. Our system is set up that we could double our cellar, and we're kind of maxing out on the tap room now, just between the parking and the tables space and just where we are at with fire code. So we're actually, instead of pushing the gas on local distribution, we're going to open up a second tap room.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
That's super smart.
Yeah, it was Sean's idea, not mine. But
thanks, Sean.
Yeah, we've got a good partnership with the barbecue place out here, Evie Mays. They've consistently done really well as far as like critics go, and they've got a line every day that they're open. And we've been donating beer to them to serve, to their line since we've been open, and have done a couple events with them before. and they have a retail space that they were using for private events. And that kind of dried up, I think, during COVID a little bit. And they've been using it on and off. And we knew it was out there, built out and kind of ready to go. So we approached them last December about it. And they were on board for doing it. They've been trying to figure out the whole beer thing for their location as well without getting a license and having to do all of that.
Yeah.
But not having to just keep giving away free beer. So it makes sense for everybody.
Nice.
So, yeah, we're in the process of that. And,
Very cool.
hopefully we'll get that open and rolling in fall of 24.
Gotcha.
But we'll see.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, I hope so. That sounds amazing. Have some barbecue and some good beer.
Yeah. And they've
Yeah.
got a great space, and we're gonna build out a big beer garden in the back where
nice.
You can kind of come from the barbecue place into the garden, or you can come from our place in there. And
Into the barbecue.
yeah, and kind of have a big
Shared space.
Yeah, like a good, and like there's not really any kind of like, I'm doing air quotes to get a microphone,
Yeah.
like destination brewery experience out here. So
Yeah.
it'll kind of it's about 15 minutes outside of Lubbock, so
Gotcha.
Oh,
kind of be
nice.
like a little like, hey, for the afternoon, let's go
Let's
get
go
barbecue
hang
and have
out.
beers. And
Yeah.
we'll have a big fenced-in courtyard where kids can run around and have cornhole and
Nice.
all the things.
That, I think it's great too to have like a second location that is close but not right next door to this location, because it doesn't feel like people have to divide between, do you want to go to the OG spot or do you want to go to the new spot, depending on your needs.
Right. Yeah.
And also, I mean, again, working from small breweries to major production breweries, I think it's awesome that you guys, I know it's a pain, but to do the taproom model and self-distribute as much as you can, it really keeps you under that debt ceiling and allows your growth to be more realistic and more sustainable and make you still super agile, as opposed to making major investments that may or may not, depending on the demographic and how the future looks, could make you great or crash you.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, we're a 10-barrel system, and I think we're too big now. I don't feel like there's a lot of future out there for breweries opening up any bigger than a 15.
Yeah, you've seen everything that's happened with so many major breweries, modern times, Lagunitas, Sierra Nevada, all these people closing down major facilities.
Yeah, it's not a great time to be a large regional distributing brewery unless you've just got a firm grasp on your footprint. But yeah, no, I think we like the idea because, we're already paying for all the stainless steel here, so we might as well maximize it, and unfortunately there's a lot of used equipment out there, so we could, double our cellar for, hopefully, knocking on the table, like no debt, and then just have another outlet to
distribute,
move beer.
Move beer. Yeah.
But
would
your tap room.
that place have a brew system and tanks in it as well?
No.
Okay,
They'd all be
strictly.
here.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, so you just have you double your cellar here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Double
got it.
capacity.
Yeah. So it'll be like a public house, just satellite public house. Really, like if you just cut the front half of this experience off and move it out there, but with more space, more outdoor space.
The beer garden sounds awesome too. I think that's something that I know, me being a West Texas person, we love being out in the sun and having cornhole and different things, and having a beer garden. I don't think there's probably any place like that here in Lubbock, right? That has like a beer garden or something similar.
There's a couple places downtown.
Okay.
There's a place called The Garden, which is
I think we've been there.
like
It's like
that,
that college bar.
Yeah, but still being able to have that next to a barbecue joint, like.
Well, there's
that's
nothing
pretty
family
cool.
oriented like that.
Yeah.
Like the ones that are like that are oriented for college people, but ours would definitely be the same vibe, same demographic, like family oriented. Come out, get barbecue, and let your kids run around. And it is the whole joke about kids versus dogs in the tap room and stuff. Like it will be that.
Yeah.
We're gonna train our staff and just be like, this is it. And it might suck when that kid throws that Jenga piece at your face.
Yeah.
But that family's going to tip a little bit better than college kids would tip. So
for sure.
I will go on the record and say, for a long time, I always thought that like breweries and especially a lot of tap rooms was like, it's just drunk babysitting. But I wasn't realizing that more families and people were wanting to get out and spend more time, which means spending more money, making more connections. And I have now kind of turned a leaf more, being like, okay, like having a family-friendly place. I do see, I don't need to look at it as being like, oh yeah, if people are going to drink beer, they don't want to be bothered by children. It's like, beer's for everybody. Yeah. Let everybody enjoy it.
Well, and that's how we came with our friends. Our friends have kids.
Yeah.
So it's like we couldn't have come here they would have been excited about it when it brought us here.
Yeah, we would just drink alone.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
would have just been like by ourselves instead of like being with our friends and their kids and like enjoying the time.
So making those memories is great.
It's super cool. So
I mean, there are some regulars who've complained about kids, but also they know there's a regular birthday party happening.
That's it. Yeah. So I was going to ask you about. We talked earlier about you like the process and knowledge and learning of like new techniques, new products that are coming out. We talked about this in our last podcast. I feel like it's like a arms race for thiolized yeast or different, hot products and hot styles. In my last brewery, we used a lot of different kind of like oils.
techniques.
Yeah, techniques for like West Coast style pilsners, super hoppy pilsners. Can you speak a little more on that? Do you guys use those different products, or are you experimenting with those types of styles?
Yeah, we've been we're in contract with Yakima Chief, so we've been using cryo products for a long time. We definitely subscribe to their survivable compound theory. Where we're building our IPAs around keeping more survivables up front on the hot side, and then more delicate volatile oils on the cold side.
Okay, nice.
So everything is kind of built around that. We do low temp whirlpools or cool pools for all our hazies, just to really retain all the oils and aromas. And recently started using some of the Dynaboost product. That's their flowable CO2 extract for the whirlpools. And
Awesome.
we have a double West Coast with the Citra in it right now that I'm pretty happy with.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Working with hops it's a lot of fun, and I think that we've kind of found ourselves in a position where we've really enjoyed making these West Coast pilsners. We're drinking the Surf Wax America right now, which is
That's a great name, by the way.
Thanks, yeah. It's an all citra lager. It's raw North Star pills, bag of flaked rice, 3470, and then a little bit of citra in the whirlpool and just a ton of citra in the dry hop. And we started doing these last summer. After CBC, we went to, so we're buddies with Adler Lentz. He's got a brewery out in Nashville called Smith & Lentz. He had a handful of these hoppy lagers on, and we came back really inspired to do something like that. And we realized also, like, we were kind of long in our hop contract, so we're like, let's just start burning some hops on some fun stuff. So this was the first one we did, all Citra. And after it did really well. This beer kicked in about 2 weeks.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we put it on while I was on vacation, and I got back, and it kicked like right after that. So I was lucky to even get some. My cellarman, or I guess assistant brewer, lead cellar guy now, John, was out working at a camp teaching chess to kids.
Oh, cool.
He got back, the beer was completely gone. He didn't even get to try it.
You didn't get to try it.
And he might not get to try it this year either. So that's what you get.
John, that's your fault.
Yeah.
We won't save you any.
But we did another one after that using Cryo Simcoe called Industry of Cool, which I think was my favorite. I love Simcoe. Simcoe is probably my favorite hop.
It's a great hop.
Yeah, and we got our cryo batch last year was incredible. This year I've got 2 lots, one that's oriented a little more piney citrusy, and the other one that's a little more tropical citrusy, so I can kind of pull both levers with it depending on the beer.
Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah, but the idea is that, we did those 2 beers kind of back to back, and they did really well here in the tap room. And then we're like, well, let's just go through the rest of our contract. So we did Cryo Columbus. Next, we did Idaho 7. We did Chinook, Mosaic, Cascade, Eldorado, and all as single hop, simple lagers. And they've done really, really well. They're really popular here in the tap room. And the first 2, I was thinking I wanted to give them kind of West Coasty names. So like Industry of Cool is a line from Almost Famous, where Lester Bangs, the character, is saying, talking to the kid who's trying to be a music writer, is like basically these guys have created an Industry of Cool, and I thought that was a cool.
Yeah,
one, so.
Industry of
nice.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that. Because y'all are creating an Industry of Cool here.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
But in like a...
They're
kind of
teaching the industry
Teaching.
cool.
You're
an ironic
teaching the industry,
way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I was like, man, I want to do more of these. We've got to keep thinking up these names. And then Sean had been sitting on this idea for a while where, the Beck song Loser, right, has all these really great little lines in it.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, let's use that as kind of the umbrella. And then every one of these has one of these little lines. So
Okay.
the first one we did was first one we did was plastic eyeballs. Then we did first plastic eyeballs. Then we did beefcake pantyhose. We
I
did
haven't heard that song in such a long time.
Yeah.
Just bringing it all back.
choking on the splinters. Bozo Nightmare. Man, there's another one. I'm forgetting another one. But we pretty much got to the point where we're releasing one of these once a month. And before we could
Kind
get
of these hoppy pilsners.
Yeah, before we could get the next one out, it would kick. But they've been real nice to keep on the schedule. And I think it really kind of marries our just our beer passions, with like, drinkable, crisp, crushable lagers, and just a really nice, approachable, like hop flavor and aroma, and just bitter enough that it kind of translates that dryness into snappiness in the beer.
Yes. I was about to say refreshing
It's so
and
good.
snappy in the hop aroma, and it's light too.
Yeah.
And that's always the thing is like drinking IPAs, it's the sweetness and it feels heavy. This is fantastic.
Yeah,
Well,
it really is.
that rice does a lot of work to
Oh,
dry it
nice.
out.
Yeah.
I mean, this one originally we called it a cold pale ale, because it was kind of all the same stuff that's going on with the cold IPA
Yeah,
trend.
kind of pseudo, kind of not. Yeah.
Yeah, but then we were like, people don't really know what that means, and then it kind of begs the question of like, well, are not all the beers cold? Why is that one cold? Are you serving the other beers
Oh.
warm? And
Right.
we actually
Funny.
Yeah.
we actually did a beer.
Yeah, it makes sense.
We did a beer with, going back to Nico, we bring him in to brew an anniversary beer with us every year now, just as like bring
Very
everybody
fun.
out.
Yeah.
And when he wasn't brewing at the time, so we're like, anything you want to mess around with, or ideas, or hot products, or whatever. So he had this idea to do a hot IPA, which was an IPA using Saison DuPont yeast, fermented at 85
Oh, yeah.
to like coax out more phenolics, a little bit of esters, and kind of let that play with the hops and whatnot. So we put it on the board, call it a hot IPA, and everyone here thinks that it's spicy hot.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
gosh.
or they're thinking that it's served warm with like steam coming out
Yeah.
of it. So it was a fun thing to mess around with, but from the educational perspective in the tap room, we've definitely had to do a lot of that beer does not sell itself.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
had to sell it for sure.
So working with the servers and giving tasters and stuff, I'm sure.
Yep, yeah.
And it's funny that because I would be on the same train. I think we all would be of like a hot IPA. It's like, it has something to do with the fermentation. It's not going to be served to you at like, out of a kettle at 100 degrees. But for regular people, it's like a
Yeah,
hot
if you
IPA.
didn't know.
I don't want that.
Does it come in a coffee mug?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
if you didn't know, like I totally get. I mean, I think if I was a person who hadn't had a lot of beer, like I think I would have asked the same question,
Yeah.
Where are the Scoville units?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is this like hot ones? Do I need to
Yeah.
use the restroom afterwards?
Does it come with a milk kicker?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
gosh.
Well, that's so cool. Like being able to hear kind of like some new techniques and things that y'all are doing, and hearing how well it's been taken by the tap room, and being able to keep on going. So do y'all have like more iterations of it coming out?
Yeah. We're gonna we repeated the Citra one. We're gonna repeat the Simcoe one. After that, I think I'm going to start combining some of the hops, because it was a fun experiment to really, and it was good for my staff too, to like, hey, this is what El Dorado tastes like.
Yeah.
Whenever it's been on, whenever we've done it in the whirlpool, the dry hop, this
Yeah.
is how this hop expresses in the glass.
Yeah, you get to really showcase it.
Yeah. But not all those hops are really great on their own. And like none of them were poor. Like if it was a poor beer, we wouldn't have put it on the wall. But
Right.
some of them definitely drank and I think showcased better than others. Solo
Yeah.
hops. And I mean, that's, a lot. There are some hops that are like, all-star players, and other hops that are just like, like supporting, like leading the league in assists or whatever.
Yeah.
So
I did that with a Sabro for a hoppy pilsner because
Oh, yeah?
I really love the Sabro.
Yeah.
I love kind of the strawberry. Sometimes it does mint. I know it can lean into coconut, which
Yep,
people
yep.
will take to like suntan lotion. But I was like, I think this would be great for a pilsner. And that's something where I saw where it was like underwhelming. And it wasn't the amount that we could hop it even more. It was just like, this is like an assisting hop as opposed to like being lead and being in the
Yeah.
front. It requires other components to really make it shine.
Yeah. Like we did the El Dorado one, tasted like dreamsicles.
Oh,
like
yeah.
artificial orange. And we'd give it to people at the tap room, like our regulars who they know the series, they know the Beck names for the
Yeah.
series, and they'd be like, "This one is interesting." And you're like, "Okay, well, tell me more." And it'd take a little bit of coaxing, and everyone kind of independently got to the point where like either it tastes like dreamsicle, or like orange candy, or like like orange cough medicine, and not like in
the artificial orange sweet.
Yeah, artificial orange, and not like in the phenolic way, but like or infection way. But yeah, it was one that it was probably the only one that I really felt like I want this one to kick sooner than later.
Yeah.
Chinook was incredible. That one was really good on its own. Cascade was a little bit underwhelming. I think that one needed a supporting player. Same with Mosaic. Columbus was great. We did the Cryo Columbus, so it came out super
awesome.
dank. Really, really dank. That was a fun one. And Idaho 7, I love that hop. That's probably my favorite hop. That one was really, really good. That one was unfortunate because we had just gotten a 7-barrel fermenter, and the PRV on it is set at about 20-25 psi, and we packaged the kegs, and you package under pressure, and the head pressure got up to about 25 psi, and then we canned it 2 days later. Over those 2 days, that 25 psi had dissolved into solution, so we went from about 245 to about 265 on our volume of carb, and we could not get it in the can. Like our canner is not a counter pressure filler, so we maybe canned up one case of it and probably lost 3 or 4 cases trying to do that.
Oh yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, that sucked.
That's tough.
Yeah, so coming up will be some like partnering of the same idea, but having it where you're having 1 or 2 or 3 hops that you're putting into this series. Is that the idea?
Absolutely.
Very cool. Yeah.
So we can. I think we did the math. I think we realized there were. I forget. I think it was like 85 combinations we could make.
Oh wow. That'll be
That's a big
so
Rolodex.
nice.
That's awesome.
And still probably maybe 20 Beck lyrics that we could pull from that song.
Yeah.
So.
There you go. So it'll be for a good long time. You'll have your IPA, your West Coast IPA planned out. So that'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Do you have any hops that you are excited or like a dream to work with in this series?
We've been getting some. I've got a couple cases of Nectaron in my walk-in right now. That's been a fun hop. We did a couple things with that last year. We built a New Zealand IPA out of that last year called Part-Time Model, and it actually made top 20 at the Yakima Chief Alpha King contest.
Oh, fun!
Oh,
that's
awesome! Congrats on that.
Yeah, that was awesome. Being in the room with like Pine House and Russian River and Pizza Port and having the name of my brewery called out was one of the best days of my life. I mean, that's awesome amazing. Getting married and like children.
Yeah, no, congrats.
Business owning a brewery,
it's all part of the memory book.
Yeah, but we're going to make that beer again. So, Nectaron's been fun to play around with. Superdelic is another New Zealand hop that we did a couple different beers with last year. We did a collaboration with our buddies Pondicet up in Amarillo called All Hail West Texas. And it was just a real big West Coast IPA featuring Superdelic. And that hop expresses kind of candy-like, kind of like Hawaiian Punch, that kind of fake tropical candy, tropical. And so it adds this kind of really artificial but intense sweet note that I feel like when used correctly just kind of can put a beer like over the top. And like I want this to be so on the nose that you're going to be like, yeah, that's what they're fucking going for.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's a fun one.
Yeah, we usually find that it's like honeydew melon, cantaloupe, or mango with kind of like it's like the perfect amount of ripe. Like when you smell that, it almost smells like fake sweet candy, but it's like fruity as well. I'm like, that's top notch.
Yeah,
that's so awesome.
Yeah, we've done a couple things with HBC 1019 and 630, which are similar to Sabro and the Neo Mexicana, where they're kind of tropical to where they'll kind of express kind of the woody coconut flavor to a degree, and kind of built those on, again, not loving to drink these, but loving to make them, built them on really creamy, sugary, sweet, double hazy, beers. Yeah. And I think that, this is a beer I've been chasing. I've had a couple similar to this, and I think are good. I've been wanting to do like a tiki inspired IPA. Oh, yeah. And I know that Pine House have done one called Island Kitty, and we've got some buddies in Austin called Hold Out. They did one recently. I forget the name of theirs, but it was pretty fantastic. But I feel like you can kind of get around it either with building with hops or actually using adjuncts and different fruits.
I could totally see that a tiki-inspired hazy IPA.
Yeah.
You know who did one that we recently had? We're good friends with the people at American Solera.
Oh, yeah?
They did one called Two Pina Coladas.
Yes,
that's
that's
double
what it was,
hazy.
yeah.
It's like 8.5. But
that's fun.
we're interviewing him next week, so we'll be sure. We'll just send it in the beer mail to you
Yeah,
guys.
yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe you
mail.
can make your list, or you can be like, oh, we'll do
Yeah.
something a little bit different.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the double hazies we've been doing recently, I've been veering them closer to that because I feel like if I'm going to make a beer that's going to look and taste and smell like this, I'm not reinventing the wheel. Like they've been doing this in tiki bars for years. Let's just cut to the chase and just make a tiki drink because that's what these people who like that kind of beer, that's what they really want is like a painkiller.
Yeah.
So let's just give them
Who doesn't love a painkiller?
Yeah. and I'll drink a can of one of those every once in a while, in the vein of like this is more of like a tiki kind of like cocktail inspired drink versus whoa killer hazy bro.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
No, totally. Well, with all the cool beers that y'all are doing, do y'all do like release parties, or do y'all other than your lager jam, are there other big parties that y'all have that come to the facility?
We've like I was saying for Lager Jam, that was the first one we kind of manifested to have an event for no reason. We tried to do an event. The first double hazy we did a year and a half ago. It's called Two Headed Boy, and it was pretty popular. And we tried to have an event for it. We tried to make it a popular. We were like, let's make this a hype beer because people have been asking for a while, like, when are you going to make a bigger beer? Make a bigger beer. And so we had T-shirts made and we had stickers made, and the design was like a 3D design, and we had 3D glasses for it.
Oh,
So
that's
cool.
so rad.
Yeah, it was a really cool execution. And then we still have those fucking T-shirts. We still have glass. I still probably have 100 glasses sitting in the walk-in right now. And so we kind of veered away from the releases for beers and leaned more into, well, we're having a party for something else. Let's put a beer in it.
Got it.
Yeah.
So,
leaning into the market. You listening to the market. That's
right.
cool.
Yeah. They wanted an event, and we realized adding a beer to an event just kind of accentuates the whole thing and makes it a little bit bigger.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So like Oktoberfest, release our fest beer. St. Patrick's Day, release a dry stout, and we do a West Coast red, which I'm pretty happy with.
I think we brought you all flounders.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. We can try that. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, one of the last questions we ask everyone on the podcast is, if you were to give advice to your younger self, what would you tell yourself?
Invest in Apple.
Invest in it.
Yeah. Invest in Apple.
Gotcha.
I've got a buddy who invested in Apple back in 1999 when we were seniors in high school. He took his graduation money and bought some stock in Apple.
Yeah.
I wish I would have done that too.
Yeah. Gotcha. I think several of us wished we would have invested when we were in utero or.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like, what were you doing in 2004? Not investing in the housing market.
Yeah.
It's like I was in 4th grade.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that meme. I love that meme of the sonogram photo, like me wasting time
Yes.
not investing
Yes.
in real estate.
Exactly.
Back
Yes.
in the 80s.
Absolutely.
Feeling that for sure.
Yeah.
So totally get that.
No, I feel like, and I think same with Sean. I think that all the experiences we've had and the different things we've done in the different cities have all kind of played together to create what we've done here. And it wouldn't be the same if I hadn't, if I hadn't worked in a newspaper for a couple of years, or if I hadn't been in the technical training job, I wouldn't have, gone to these breweries or whatever. So all those different things kind of played into, the person that I am now. And I feel like everyone, you can't cherry pick your experiences and decide, well, these were the good ones and then these were the bad ones. They are all who you are now.
Yeah. What you're doing now prepares you for who you are in the future. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's like, sometimes don't focus so much on, am I doing the right path? Just trust the process that these things may and can be used later on.
That's so good. I think that's kind of how we live our life too. So
Oh yeah, absolutely.
very, very much agree with that. So
Yeah, it's not a bad experience. It's just an experience.
Yes.
100%.
I think the only thing that really makes it a bad experience is if you don't learn anything from it,
Right.
and you don't augment or kind of change what you're going to do next time, then it is a wasted experience.
And it's hard to trust in yourself too when like comparison is so easy, especially now with like social media. I mean, I remember my dreams and ambitions about like the type of brewery I wanted to own or the type of brewery worker I wanted to be, and then I'm watching all these other people and I'm like, oh man, I'm nowhere near that. It's like, oh no, just trust in yourself, take your time, it's all gonna be good.
And they're only going to broadcast what they want other people to see. Like
True.
Our social media lives are absolutely not our real lives.
True. Yeah. Well, we super appreciate your time you've given us. I feel like we could talk so much longer.
This is so great.
This has been so awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I love podcasting.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I'm glad you guys are doing this.
We'll come back. When we come back through, we'll have to do it round 2 with you and Sean.
Oh, yeah,
so we'll have to do it.
Absolutely. We'll bring all the East Coast hazy that you can try in R&D as much as you want. We'll throw a bunch of good lagers in there too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris.
Yep.
Cheers.
Y'all. Cheers. Thank you.